everyone, welcome to episode 130 of Popcorn and Prosecco, a show that's all about talking about movies. I am Perri Nemiroff, and here are my co-hosts, Kristy Puchko and Angie Han.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
So every episode of Popcorn and Prosecco is special, but we've got an extra special one for you today. We are doing our summer movie wrap-up and our fall movie preview, and we're going to break it up into 3 sections: our biggest disappointments of the summer, our favorite films of the summer, and then our most anticipated of the fall season. So first up, disappointments of the summer. I am introducing that, and I'm going to kick it off with my biggest disappointment of summer 2016. If you have listened to a single episode of this podcast in the past few weeks, you probably know what it is: Independence Day Resurgence. I was looking forward to this. Was my most anticipated movie, not just of the summer, but one of my most anticipated movies of the year. And it is not just a terrible movie. It is insulting to Independence Day fans everywhere. Roland Emmerich does ridiculous things in this sequel that you can't forget if you go back to watch the original that you love. He disrespects all the characters. He disrespects the mythology, and some of the new technology and things he does in this movie are just laughably atrocious. I just don't really understand how, in the creation of this movie, no one stopped to say, this is a bad idea. I would love to talk spoilers right now. Are we allowed to talk spoilers?
Screw it. Yeah, that movie's been out for months. Do it.
Oh, God, the fucking white ball. I'll never forget it.
That's the only good part of the movie, because I was like, is this movie going to be weird and interesting? Oh, never mind.
Maybe they could have taken it in that direction.
It's also weird.
That's just like your mid-movie exposition dump.
That movie unbraids the happy endings of so much of the first movie, and then gives you new characters who are nowhere near as charismatic or even interesting than what used to be. It was just like, here's a bunch of pretty young people. They probably want to have sex with each other, but we're not going to get into it because PG-13. And it's so transparent and clueless. I don't understand the point of that movie.
How angry were you when it ended with, and there's gonna be a sequel?
It's like, basically it ended with the like, dun dun dun. It's like, fuck you, movie.
Which is laughable, 1, because it's stupid and forced, and 2, because they're not making a sequel. It wasn't received well critically or at the box office, so we're not getting any more Independence Day, so that's the good thing that came out of this movie. Do we want to move on to Kristy's pick?
Yeah, so, this was a big summer for disappointments. I was really disappointed in Jason Bourne. I love The Bourne Identity. I like the sequels fine. I didn't anticipate hating this one, but the funny thing is I forgot this movie was coming out until like a week before, because I feel like there was just no talk about it, nothing was going on, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh right, a Jason Bourne movie, how fun. No! Like, it takes no effort to try to create a new mythos for Jason. It's basically like, Jason, by the way, what about your dad? And he's like, what about my dad? And then they get into it, and it changes literally nothing about who he is as a character. And they like wedge in these characters that I felt like a crazy person, because I was like, was Tommy Lee Jones in these movies before? Because I felt like the movie treated him like we had met him before, but no, he's just another angry white dude that's mad at Jason Bourne. And like, Alicia Vikander is totally wasted in this. It's just such a profoundly stupid and shockingly dull movie. And like, I was sitting there, and it was actually like, I think we just got back from Comic-Con, and I was so excited to just kick back and like enjoy a movie, and then I was like, what is this horseshit? Like, I just wanted to leave.
I think even on top of it being bad, the thing that made it so disappointing was because it was like billed as like, like Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass have such a great story to tell that they just had to come back. Oh my God, this is going to be so epic. And then they came back and was like, seriously,
this is what we had?
All that time and all that energy and all that, like, we'd only come back if there was a really good story. This is the best fucking thing you could come up with. Go screw yourselves.
Yeah, and then it wasn't even about Jason Bourne that much. Like, they kept talking about him, but he's barely in it. And when Matt Damon is in it, he doesn't get to do anything like fun or interesting. He just growls a lot and looks sad and stares off into the mid-distance thinking about his daddy issues. And just like, I am so tired of that being a superhero, like a hero thing. I'm tired of it. I don't want that story anymore. There are plenty of movies about daddy issues and sad, strong men. I want literally any other story.
All right, Angie, you're up.
All right, so my biggest disappointment this summer was X-Men Apocalypse. It's not my favorite superhero franchise, but I mean, the X-Men movies are kind of what got me into these kinds of movies. Like, you know, I remember being young and like loving X2 especially was one of my favorite movies for a long time. And like I haven't loved like, you know, like First Class and Days of Future Past I didn't love quite as much as like the earlier films, but you know, I still always had a soft spot in my heart for this franchise. Like I still have a soft spot in my heart for these characters. I was, you know, and it's a really good extensive cast. It's got a lot of exciting characters. I was like really excited to be like, all right, what are they going to do with this? Like, you know, so we're, you know, we've got a whole new generation with like younger Cyclops and like younger Jean Grey, and they rebooted the timeline. I want to see where this is going. And then it turned out the answer was fucking nowhere, because this franchise, which is like, it just like on no level does anything that happens in this movie make sense. On like it shows you nothing you haven't already seen, except for the few times it does, it's like stuff that's really stupid, like when Oscar Isaac, who they cover in blue makeup because they don't want you to know, they do not want you to know that they cast one of the best and like most popular actors right now in this movie for some reason, puts his hand on TV and is like learning, and you're just like, why? Why?
I forgot that happened.
Yeah,
that's
that
like
happened.
A thing from Short Circuit.
Psylocke fucking visited Auschwitz in like a purple latex swimsuit.
Yep,
that happened in this movie. I mean, just guys. And then like the villains, like the whole plot, like he's like, I'm gonna collect all the like, you know, the most powerful evil people, and I was like, okay, what's he gonna do? I'm gonna give them makeovers, and we're gonna stand on the beach and just pose like really fiercely. And I was like,
didn't one of them not get it? Like they all got really cool armor, like rough and tough suits, and then she got a bathing suit or something.
Psylocke got that Capizio dance number from the 80s. Because, like, apparently he can also make leotard out of sand.
I liked the stuff that you were looking forward to, the stuff with the new crop of mutants. That part excited me, the stuff that took place in the school. And then it's just, like, everything in the last half of the movie with them essentially doing, like, pulling crap from other third act major superhero movie endings and, like, let's just put it all in one. Let's just, like, destroy a city. Let's do, like, the swirly dust thing. Let's have Michael Fassbender not do any work. Let's just schedule it so our big actors can just chill and stand there and have the action happen around them.
It feels like they spared no expense in terms of money, but that like nobody put any real effort into this. Like
Jennifer Lawrence looked like she was sleepwalking through this entire
movie. The franchise
movie.
just stopped caring.
It's astonishingly bad.
Angie, do you want to take us into the complete opposite and go favorite films of summer?
Yeah, now that we've all thoroughly depressed ourselves, remembering how many disappointing sequels, I should point out, there were this summer, let's go into some of our favorite films of the summer. So my favorite, which is a film that I actually keep forgetting came out in summer because it feels more like a spring movie, but whatever, is The Nice Guys with Shane Black. I actually just rewatched it again last weekend because it finally hit iTunes. I mean, this is a movie that like when I came out of the theater, like I just like, you can ask the people that went with me, like I just had this look of like, you know, like the heart eyes emoji. That was just like what I looked like in real life, because I thought the movie was so it's an original movie in that it's not based on anything, but it's not like a premise you haven't seen before or anything like that, but it's just so well done. Like Ryan Gosling, I always like better when he's being like funny and chatty than when he does the strong silent thing, which I think he actually prefers to do. He's hilarious in this. He bounces off really well against Russell Crowe, star of our favorite movie Winter's Tale.
Accurate.
And like I think one of the things I liked about this movie is that it just felt like such a perfect blend of earnest and cynical and sad and like happy. Like he finds that balance between all these different elements really, really well, and came out with something where like not only did I have a really good time, but I walked out feeling like I really cared about what I had just seen and what happened.
Yeah, Shane Black he creates really fun and fucked up stories that have really great characters.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, that was a summer movie that I'd actually watch a sequel of.
That was one of the movies that I walked out of and would have walked right back in and seen it again if I had time. I'm surprised at this point, so many months later, I haven't gone for a second viewing.
Well, it's on iTunes. You can rent it.
It's probably because I have seen my favorite film of the summer 3 times in the theater already.
Jesus Christ.
And, yeah. If only you guys could see the stinky faces Kristy's making right now. My favorite film of summer 2016 is Don't Breathe. And one of my favorite filmmakers, my favorite up-and-coming filmmakers right now, is director Fede Alvarez. This movie is just one of the best horror thrillers I've seen in such a long time. It is so incredibly tense. Kristy, you're distracting me. Stop
I'm
laughing
sorry.
at me.
I was trying to behave, but then Angie texted Kristy's face. LOL. I'm sorry. I was trying really hard to be like, I am. Look at what a professional.
If you want to hear the great debate about Don't Breathe, which is basically just me getting pissed at Kristy for not liking it, go watch last week's episode because that was a great chat.
It is the closest Perri and I have ever come to a fight, like an actual, like if we were in other states.
Covering my camera does nothing. I'm just not gonna look at Kristy for 5 seconds. And
not off camera.
I'm gonna cover my camera. Go ahead, do your spiel. Talk about Don't Breathe.
So, I freaking love this movie. It works on so many levels. This concept works especially well because Fede Alvarez is just a master visual filmmaker where if you haven't seen the movie, it's about these 3 kids that go in and rob a blind man. So it's all about how the blind man uses his heightened other senses to get the better of them and how they think that they're going to be able to get away with this really easily, but he's skilled in so many other ways. And just the way the blind man maneuvers around the house, you really get the sense that he knows everything. And the way that Fede moves the camera around and follows him, you get the feeling that you're trapped with the characters. The way the sound design comes in and out, it really works really well with the story that we're working with. And the dark, and now I'm looking at the dark camera because Kristy's covering her camera, but the scene in the dark, there's just so many great moments in this movie that only work because every aspect of the production comes together so well. The visuals, the performances, the camera work, the sound design. Good on Fede Alvarez. Don't listen to Kristy. Go see Don't Breathe.
All right. So on that note, I'm going to go to my favorite movie of the summer, which was Swiss Army Man, which is also known as the farting corpse jet ski movie out of Sundance. By the time I saw it, was really nervous that it wasn't going to live up to the hype, but it's so special and weird and heartfelt and funny, and I laughed and I cried a little, and I genuinely think that Daniel Radcliffe gives one of the best performances of 2016 in this movie because it is so unlike anything you've seen before. And I think that we need to pay tribute to that because, you know, the big award circles totally won't. This movie's way too weird. And honestly, like, maybe it's too weird for you too. I don't know. You got to judge your own thing. But if the concept of a corpse farting someone in jet ski style to freedom sounds appealing to you, you'll absolutely love Swiss Army Man. And you should seek it out because it's just sensational and really great.
I'm pissed I still haven't seen it.
I am too.
It's on my little VOD list for so long now, especially after that Jurassic Park teaser came out.
Right? It's so good. Like, I genuinely think you would like this. Because that's the other thing. A lot of people played up how gross, quote unquote, the movie is because of all the farting. There's not that much farting. It's like the first 10 minutes, there's a lot of farting, but it's not a gross movie, really. Like, it's not Wetlands. It's not even as gross as like Neighbors 2.
I feel like, you know, it's crass, but it's not crass without a point. Like, it's used, like, there's a real reason why they have made this movie feel so crude and weird. Like, it ties into what this movie is trying to do and what it's trying to say.
Totally.
As long as it doesn't make me want to vomit like Wetlands did, fine, I'll watch it.
All right. Well, I'm going to move into another weird movie that I'm looking forward to this fall. We're going to go into our most anticipated movies of the fall. Imagine glittery font in your heads as you listen. So I am most excited about The Handmaiden, which is the new Chan-wook Park movie, which is like based on a novel that's like set in England, but he was like, screw that, I'm going to set mine in Japanese occupied Korea. And the trailer for it is weird and sexy and violent, and there's something sinister about it. And going in, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but this is the guy that brought us Oldboy and Stoker, which I'm a bigger fan of Stoker than I am Oldboy. But with those things alone, I'm just incredibly excited to see this, and it's supposed to be hitting TIFF soon, so you're going to start seeing reviews coming out, and I anticipate this is going to be one of the biggest movies of the year as far as critics are concerned. I think everybody's going to be talking about this movie. But Angie, do you want to tell us about what your most anticipated is?
Yeah, so the movie that I've been looking forward to ever since I shed actual tears watching the first trailer is A Monster Calls. It's the movie. It's this movie's like it's this year's like 18th little kid befriends giant monster movie. But it's about a little boy. It's directed by Jay Bayona, who did like The Orphanage and The Impossible. And it's about a little boy who's, like, having a really hard time, you know, at school and having a hard time at home because his mom, played by Felicity Jones, is really sick. And then, like, so then in his loneliness, he reaches out to a giant tree monster who is voiced by Liam Neeson. And it looks like one of those, I watched the trailer and it made me so sad because it's one of those movies that seems to use fantasy as, you know, not just like, ooh, cool, magic, adventure, childlike sense of wonder, but like as a way to kind of discuss a thing that is really, really hard to discuss, which is like, you know, a child who is basically grieving. And I mean, the trailers have broken my heart, and I cannot wait to sob over and over again in the theater.
I'm really pumped for that. And a perfect segue is that two of our most anticipated movies of the fall have Felicity Jones in them. She's going to have quite the time in the upcoming months. I'm going with probably the most obvious choice you could go with for most anticipated of the rest of the year, and that's Rogue One. I have hit a point in my life where I don't just love Star Wars, I am absolutely obsessed with it. I can't stop reading all of the stupid little character stories that EW releases every single week. You give me a quote about this movie, and I'm going to listen to it or read it over and over and read into it as much as I can to try to piece everything together. I'm just so freaking excited by everything, like the whole Star Wars universe is doing on every level, from films to books to shows. Just the interconnectivity is really kind of incredible when you think about it. I mean, we're talking about we're getting a new movie that's going to connect so closely to a movie that came out decades ago. And just the fact that they pay attention to every little detail, where there's going to be so many great payoffs that really connect everything so thoughtfully and so well. I'm so excited about it. You know, the whole reshoot business aside, if I'm just looking at this movie with what I've seen in the promotional campaign, this looks like the standalone movie I've wanted from the beginning, since they called it a war movie, because the trailers to me say that, and in particular that featurette they revealed, oh my god, that is a true gritty, boots on the ground war film. And I think seeing a film of that tone play out in the Star Wars universe is going to be something that's really interesting, exciting, and new. I cannot wait. I am counting down the minutes until I can see this movie.
Yeah, releasing a Star Wars prequel has never gone badly for anyone ever.
Well,
I'm just giving you a hard time. I actually think it genuinely looks really good, but I could not resist getting that in there. I am so sorry. Well, I already have a new favorite character, and it is the villain from Rogue One. Oh my god, you guys.
And she does love a man in a cape.
Yes, apparently.
Especially if it's Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn's the best. Or as my husband calls him, Bendelson.
You're not feeling evil R2-D2?
No, I like him too. I like all the new characters already, but especially Ben Mendelsohn in that cape. I hope the movie goes into how he manages to keep that cape so pristine and clean when he's like walking through like.
Oh, I hear that's the next featurette. I said I hear that's the next featurette.
It better be.
You guys.
I think that's everything from us this week, guys.
All right. So that is our big, grand, epic summer wrap-up fall preview episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. You know where to find us. We are on iTunes, where you can rate, comment, and subscribe. We have our website, popcornprosecco.com. We are on Twitter, @popcornprosecco. Please like us on Facebook as well. And then all three of us are all over the interwebs. And I hear someone's verified on Twitter, Kristy.
I am verified on Twitter. It happened the other day, so now I'm super important. You can find my verified account at Kristy Puchko. It's KristyPuchko. And I write all over the internet, including I've started doing some fun stuff for Nerdist, so look for me at decadentcriminals.com, and I have all my career highlights there.
Angie?
You can find me on Twitter at AJHAN, where I am not verified because I refuse to change my avatar, which is not a picture of me, so I'm not even going to try. And you can find my writing at /film.com.
Just to clarify, I'm verified, and mine's a cartoon. So I think you can
get
away with it. Yeah.
You.
I looked at the thing and it was like,
is that I didn't know that was a
picture
rule.
Of yourself, and mine is not only not a picture of myself, but like a picture of, you know, an unlicensed picture of something else altogether. So I'm like,
well, it's a Britney. It's Britney from Daria.
Yes,
You're like acting like it's super obscure. Like it's Britney from
Daria.
Well,
that should be enough to get you verified.
I agree. You should at least try it. It took me like a whole 10 minutes to fill out the paperwork, and then 2 days later they were like, "Congrats, you're verified."
All right. Now I'm the least special person of Popcorn Prosecco, so I guess I have to
Wait, did that imply that I was the least
of importance?
That is shade. Shade!
No, I meant because I'm not verified. I'm the only person that's not verified.
But you said now, implying that before, implying that
it's
this
because you're not real. We're talking to an Angie imposter right now.
We were equally unspecial because Perri was verified. So Kristy
it was
and I
Perri and her
unspecial.
two knucklehead friends.
Yes. But now only I'm unspecial.
All right, well, if you want to see my special verified Twitter account, I'm at Perri Nemiroff on Twitter and Instagram. You can find my writing on Collider.com, and I'm on the Collider Videos YouTube channel as well. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.